All right, everyone, we're back. Midweek odds mastery for UFC London. And boy, do we have a lot going on the lines. Now, not much has moved since Monday, but I'm just going to go through here some of these kind of strange line movements, in my opinion, and we can kind of see where we want to go with it. First one, Cal Fernandez. I have 2 units on him at plus 325 combined, currently sitting at a plus 350. This line has gotten better and better if you want to bet on it, but worse if you think he's going to win. Money coming in on Guram. I see him in a lot of parlays. I don't see too many people laying minus 450 straight up on Guram, but I see this being a parlay piece, maybe getting up to a plus 400. So we got it a little early there. And, that's something that's going to be a theme here. And to be honest, I think at this point, the market is just so far against what my metrics are showing, which is a good thing, by the way. We want that. We want the edge. We want to be able to make money on these and get the correct implied probability compared to the odds. So I have Cal Fernandez at 48% in this fight based on the metrics and the algorithm. So there you go. We're getting a plus 350. Just not sure if I would take it now because I do see a lot of parlays with Guram coming in, but I have 2 units in case it does go down. If not, we may be adding a third unit at the kickoff. We're also going to see, obviously, in the face-offs how both fighters look, size, reach, all that advantages. But there you go. Money coming in on Guram. We like Cal. We like him at any number we can get him here. Next one that was very weird to me, Nathan Fletcher opened as a minus 170. That's actually where we got him in a parlay. So I'm going to flash that above me right here. We got a parlay here. And we got him with Marcin Tybura. Both lines have come way down. So we're all the way down to a minus 120. My metrics have him a 65% chance of beating Kaulan Lundgren. But again, the market disagrees. And one thing I know on short favorites, I usually like to wait because the money will just keep pouring in. If you think about it psychologically, someone who doesn't have conviction based on metrics, they look at it and they go, well, what do I not know? Why is all this money coming in on Cal Lundgren all the way down? Was a slight favorite at minus 105. Now it's back up to even. But why is this line? Why is money coming in? Someone must know something. Well, sometimes people just have opinions and then everyone piles on. And I don't see anything from Cal Lundgren that should make him a potential favorite, but we might get there. So I'm not putting any more on this. I'm just sticking with that parlay I showed you, and there's a reason for that. If we get a plus number on Nathan Fletcher, we will put a little more on it because 65% is a solid favorite, but we do have 2 units on this in a parlay. Next one, not much to talk about, but Eileen Punja Tumar. I lean her way all the way down to even money. We're getting a plus 154. I think she should be slightly favored according to the metrics. And so this line has stayed basically stagnant. But I do think that Shauna Bannon will get that public money, especially with it being in London, her being an Irish-based fighter. I do see Punja Tumar potentially getting up to a plus 170 again, but we'll see. I'm not rushing to the window to place this bet. Let's just say that. I'm definitely waiting and seeing, especially with where some of these lines have gone. Nothing on Christian Leroy Duncan, but here is the one that has just completely baffled me, to be honest with you. Marcin Tybura opened at minus 145. My metrics showed 75% chance of winning, and so I put him in that parlay at the minus 145 because I just assumed, based on metrics, strength of schedule, etc., that Marcin Tybura would be the pick that people went with over the relatively newcomer in Mick Parkin. I do want to show you this because this is very interesting. My metrics have Marcin Tybura much higher than Mick Parkin. But usually you'll go, okay, well, the other fighter is a big up-and-coming, a new guy, up-and-coming. He's gonna take it to the next level. And so that, to me, is exactly what we saw here with Janata Denise, where he was a even money pick. Is we had a high-level new-coming striker who was beating a lot of guys, and he starched him second round. Now, if we take a look at Mick Parkin, who he's fought, Lucas Bresky, who's a very low-level heavyweight. Muhammad Usman, who is low-level, bordering, he's right in the... He's definitely not in the middle. He's a low level. Cal Machado doesn't even fight heavyweight anymore. He fights light heavyweight, and he stinks. Jamal Pogues is not too bad. And he was a slight dog here. And I did make money on Mick Parkin. I like him. I had him in the Contender Series. He got that submission at plus 165. Then he was slight underdog to Pogues. He gets the win there. I had him against Pogues. Then we start seeing minus 400. Minus 140, I had him against Usman as well. I've really just only cashed with him. I had him getting a KO against Bresky. And that was close to even money. So I have bet Mick Parkin. I like Mick Parkin. However, if you look at the last 4 fighters he's beaten since going to the UFC, this is a massive step up in competition. Marcin Tybura is 26-9 in the UFC. He just beat Janata Deniz. He lost to Sergey Spivak, who was at the top of the division. Beats Tai Tuivasa, who's a solid fighter, I would say in the middle of the division. Loses to Tom Aspinall, who's, if we're being real, he's the best pound for pound fighter in the UFC. Blagoy Ivovanov, I can never say that name, but either way, decent fighter and was a slight favorite. Big underdog to Alexander Romanov, gets the decision win, loses to Alexander Volkov. All I'm saying here is he's fought the best fighters in the division. Whether he is the best, definitely not. He's right below. So that to me tells me that if you're looking at this logically, Marcin Tybura should be the favorite. Metrics say 75%. So what I did, I'm going to share it above here. I'm going to share all my picks at the end, but we're going to flash up right now. Marcin Tybura, 2 units added. So we have the parlay, which you'll see. We also have the 2 units added on Tybura at plus 105. So love that bet. And so we'll have a total of 4 units if Nathan Fletcher can get that W in the first fight, first leg of the parlay. That's really the only bet I added since Monday. So I'm pretty much locked in here until Friday. I do expect to put more. I think this is a card where we can really make some money here, as long as things go our way, because we are dealing with small percentages. But I think that Tybura line is way off. Nothing on Lonar Kavanaugh. 1 unit on Chris Padilla, and that line has just hung around there. Maybe we'll put 2 up if I can get a plus money here, but I'm fine with that. Nathaniel Wood, money coming in on him. I'm surprised because I've had my ear to the streets on the betting podcasts, and I'm going to talk about one of the things that I heard recently. And everyone I've heard is taking Cherrier, and so I'm surprised that the line is coming down. He was a minus 170. At this point, at plus 130, I still have value on Nathaniel Wood, but not as much as some of these other fighters. So I'm going to wait and see on this one. What do I have in terms of odds? I have Mr. Nathaniel Wood as a 51% chance of winning. So it's a coin flip, and you're getting plus 130, which is not bad, but not going to bet it as of now. Next one, and this line is going up and up. And again, I am more than shocked. Jordan Vuvicic versus Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan, currently a plus 350. I took him at a plus 310. Line came down. Took him again at a plus 275. That was around here. So it was up here. Bet it. Another unit here, 275-ish. Bet it. And then it's creeped back up and up. And I don't know what people are seeing on this. And again, I'm hearing everyone taking Vuvicic. But when I heard guys who aren't bettors talk about it, they're like, either way, either fighter could win this. And one, I was listening to the Florian Anik podcast, and Florian's talking about, Chris Duncan on the ground is dangerous. And then the other guy, it was their betting guy, is like, well, Vuvicic is just, he's going to submit him. He even bet him by submission and to get the win. And I'm like, okay, maybe, but let's take a look. What has Vuvicic done? Well, he lost to Guram, which somehow gave him like more props and more excitement. People love Guram. He's a good fighter, but people love him. And then he beats Adrian Kepa, who is a nobody. So a lot of nobodies. Loses UFC debut. Should he beat Chris Duncan? My metrics show he should beat him 55% of the time. Should he be a minus 450? Does anything in this resume say that? Again, I think we're dealing with eyeball tests here a lot, guys. There doesn't seem to be a way that anyone figures out who's better than the other guy, and it's why we see so many upsets in the UFC. Think about this in retrospect. Last week, we had a fighter who was coming off the Contender Series. He had a split decision win. It was his first fight in the UFC, and he was fighting a guy who's fought in the UFC before, more of a veteran, not a very good fighter, but not a bad fighter. He was a minus 900. People put money on him at minus 900. Do you understand the odds you need to have to legitimately play at minus 900? It has to be a guarantee. There's no universe where that's a guarantee. As a matter of fact, my metrics showed that Vera was about a 50-50, and we were getting plus 600. It's a ridiculous line. So we bet it. And he got the win. So there you go. Chris Duncan here has fought quite a bit in the UFC at this point. Not a ton, but quite a bit. And against good competition. He was an underdog against Balaji Oki. That line got steamed up for Oki. Chris Duncan gets the W with the technical submission. He loses to Manuel Torres as an underdog, who is an absolute animal. Beats Yanash Moose, who's a solid fighter, not a great fighter. Beats Omar Morales. I had a bet on that. Beats Charlie Campbell. That was a wild fight, and then loses to Slava Claus. So, I mean, look at the competition level. It's not comparable. So to be giving him a plus 300 or 350 right now, tantalizing to put another bet on that, but we have 2 units currently on Chris Duncan. There will be another bet on it, and it may come pretty soon. So check out the Friday video. But know that if you haven't bet it yet, bet it at plus 350. I mean, the line's good. I have no question in my mind that this line is mispriced. None at all. I don't care what happens in the fight, unless like Jordan Vucenic looks like, the next Islam Makhachev. But that's not going to happen. So he's a good fighter. So is Chris Duncan. Should be closer to even. Nothing on Molly McCann and run that. Kevin Holland, one line that's gone, money coming in on Holland. We bet him a little bit earlier. We got him at a plus 118. We have 2.5 units. Money's coming in on Holland, and that makes sense to me. But I also think that's the name. I don't know if that's people looking at the underlying metrics or them just saying, I like Kevin Holland because he's exciting. Next one, and this one is so baffling. It's just one of those that just, I don't know. I can't explain how Jan Blachowicz can be a plus 253 underdog in this fight. If we look at that, at plus 255, which is what it was last night, it's a 28.2% implied probability. So at this current line, he only needs to win 30% of the time. And so let's take a look at some of his past fights, and let's just go last 5. And this is not MMA math. That's when you just, okay, this guy beat him and he lost to him. So that's MMA math. And that's stupid because it's small sample size. But last 5 fights, strength of competition and results, that's data. And we use that data to come up with the true probability that a fighter is. Because if you look at him here, lost to Pereira, draw to Ankalaev, beats Ratchik, loses to Teixeira. That's 4. 5 is he beats Israel Adesanya when he moved up to light heavyweight. So he was a plus 225 there, which again, look at perfect example. Israel Adesanya moves up from middleweight to 205, way too big of a weight class against a wrestler, and he's a minus 245 because of the name. So think about that. Glover Teixeira. So he had a bigger name against Teixeira. Teixeira is a great fighter. Why was he plus 225? He gets a submission on Jan, right? So that's not going to happen against Olberg. He beats Ratchik, KO, TKO. Ratchik is a great striker, high level. He was an underdog in that. He was a plus 305 against Muhammad Ankalaev, the champion. Split draw in a 5-rounder. Loses to Alex Pereira in a split decision a few years ago. Gets shoulder surgery, so that's why the layoff. He had to get his body right. I think his body is going to be fine. He wouldn't be fighting now. He wouldn't have had such a long layoff unless he wasn't really trying to get it right. And he's a plus 253 here against Carlos Olberg, who has he fought? He has fought. His best fight was against Volkan Ozdemir recently. That was in China. And I had a bet on Ozdemir because it should have been closer to even, but that was only plus 215. So let me get this straight. Volkan Ozdemir is a plus 215 in China, and I was following something in those China fights too. A lot of the people from Australia and China in that time zone, outperformed the other people. So factor, I don't know, but Volkan Ozdemir had a worse line than we're getting with Jan Blachowicz in this fight here. Volkan Ozdemir in no universe is as good as Jan Blachowicz. He's good, solid fighter, has beaten some decent fighters, but has lost to the top of the division pretty much consistently. And that was a close fight. It was a unanimous decision, and for sure, he got picked apart and he lost, but it was close. So before that, he beats Alonzo Menefield by KO, but a lot of people do that. Dawoon Jung, he got a submission. That was good. Decent fighter. Igor Pretoria is a punching bag. Nick, not going to even try to say his last name, but I remember him. He's essentially out of the UFC now. And then Tafon Nchukwi. So you see what I'm talking about here. And he was he was a slight underdog against Nchukwi. So that's another thing. Like, look at these odds. Nobody knows. The market doesn't know. Like, he should have been a minus 400 against Nchukwi. He should have been a minus 250, 300 against Nick Negamoriano. Igor Pretoria, good line, minus 420. These guys are not good. So now we're getting the same lines here, even though he's fighting a guy who was champion. So give me Jan Blachowicz. I have 3 units. I'm going to put more. This is going to be the hill I die on here. And, maybe Carlos Ulberg is the young buck. He beats the old guy. I'm totally okay with that. But I am not okay with letting a plus 253 go by on Jan Blachowicz when all he's shown me is to be an absolute gamer. And this is the kind of a fighter you want to have your money on. Tons of track record, so we know the data is solid. Great competitor, fights at the highest level. The only negative that we do not know if it's a negative or not yet, because of the layoff that he's gotten, is his age. But with the layoff, does he come back with, additional health, which he wasn't fighting with before? I don't know. I'm willing to argue yes. Either way, I'm getting the best number here at plus 253. So 3 units on Jan, probably going to be 4. Okay, last one of the night, and this one also makes no sense to me. And to me, it's another example of a lot of people like to bet the hot fighter. So we have hot and cold. But if you look at the previous fights and who they have fought and the home court advantage Edwards is going to have here, let's just look at the numbers here. So let's take Leon Edwards. He's a plus 135. I have 3 units on him. Combined, I think it's plus 126. You'll be able to see it when I do the recap at the end here. But he was a minus 260 against Bilal Muhammad in the championship fight, and he lost a decision to Bilal. He beats Kobe Covington as a minus 163, beats Kamaru Usman as a plus 225. He beats Kamaru Usman as a plus 315. Beats Nate Diaz, obviously. I poke with Bilal, which felt years and years ago. But just look at his last 5 fights. I mean, this is the cream of the crop, top of the division. Loses as a big favorite as the champion. And then he goes into his next fight against Sean Brady, which, let's play some MMA math for fun, right? Sean Brady does only have 1 singular loss. And who'd that come against? Bilal Muhammad. And he was a favorite against Bilal Muhammad. And so, okay, who'd he fight after? Well, Kevin Gastelum, solid fighter. At welterweight, interesting. Beats him with a submission. Very nice. Beats an older Gilbert Burns, kind of at the tail end. I would say these guys are right below championship level, but not really fighting. Like, Burns isn't fighting for the championship. Gastelum isn't fighting for the championship. So it's Bilal Muhammad. And then he's done some grappling tournaments. He beats Michael Chiesa. He beats Jake Matthews. He's beat some solid fighters. But this line should be flipped. Leon Edwards should be the minus 155. And Brady should be the plus 135. But that's not how people are going to see it. Brady's younger. Is he younger? Let's take a look. 32? I don't think Leon Edwards is that old. He's 33. So I don't know. You guys comment. Let me know. How give me an argument. I would love to hear the argument. I heard what the guys said on the Anik and Florian podcast, but what was interesting is when Anik asks, who was it that was there? It wasn't Florian, but it was one of the, I think it was one of the coaches. He asked him, Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady, who do you think is favored? And he goes, well, it's got to be Leon Edwards. This is the coach. He doesn't know anything about betting. He's just like, well, it's got to be Leon Edwards, right? He just was the champion. No, Sean Brady. So, and this line has touched plus 140. Who knows where it's going to go? I didn't even get the best number. I got plus 126, and now we're up to plus 135. So go figure. Beating the line movement, we do it sometimes, but honestly, that's not even what I can only go based off my metrics as a starting point, place my bets, and then as things are moving, we can make predictions. So I'll do a quick run through of yes, no, more or less. All of them that I brought up should be bet if you don't have a bet on it. But I'll let you know if I think there's going to be more on it. I think Leon Edwards is a yes. There's going to be more put on Leon Edwards. Hoping to get maybe a plus 150, but he will get more action. Jan will get more action. And I am going to wait on that because I already have 3 units on both of them up here. Kevin Holland's going to stay like this at 2.5 because he is a little bit, not reliable, but good number in my opinion at plus 118. Then we got Chris Duncan. He's going to probably get another unit if this line gets crazy out of control. Nathaniel Wood will not get a unit unless we can get a plus 150. Chris Padilla has 1 unit, probably going to stay that way unless I get a better plus number. Marcin Tybura, if I can get another plus number. I already have 4 units with the 2 wrapped up in the parlay and the 2 straight up, but there may be more. This is one of my best bets in the night. 75%. That doesn't come around a lot where I'm getting this much value. So probably going to put more on Tybura. I would definitely bet him now if you don't have any because that's a great line. Incredible line. Nathan Fletcher, probably going to hold with what we got because it's a 2-unit parlay. Yeah, but I think he gets this win, 65%, good value. And then Cal Fernandez, 2 units, might just stay with that. Cal Fernandez hasn't necessarily impressed me with any of his wins. Muhammad Yahya lost to Mark Diakese, so he could get beat here. But again, at the plus 350, it's a good line. It's a good number. Should be closer to 50-50. So we're going to stick with the 2 units on that. And that's it. So above me here, guys, you'll see all the picks that we have for UFC London. First one flashing by here has most of the straight up bets. So many of them, though, that I had to add the next one here to the parlay. So it's not just the parlay. It is also the straight up bet with Marcin Tybura. And there you go. That's all I have for now. When we do the post face-off recap, we will add any bets that we want to put in. But this is pretty much how the card's going to look. So lock it in with me if you think it's a good time to. I think a lot of them it's a good time to do it. The lines have moved a lot of times in our favor on these. So it's time to have a massive week this week. I think we will. I think we have a lot of value. And I hope to see you guys at the window.